reality. Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see.
Hi again, everyone. Scott Player Pop Cult Fan here, and now it is time for me to review Suicide Squad. Now, Suicide Squad. What do I think about Suicide Squad? Well, I really like the cast. The cast is amazing. Will Smith is amazing as Deadshot. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She's pretty sexy and badass, I must say. And another character that stole the show for me was Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. Now, he's not necessarily the Captain Boomerang that you might not know from the comics, but that is his character. And one thing to take out of this character is that we do see a cameo from a Justice League member, but I'm not going to say who it is. I'll talk about more about that in detail when I do my spoiler review, but this is my spoiler-free review. Now, most of the cast is great. I really like the performances, mostly. And one performance that's underused in this movie is the Joker. Now, the Joker is my favorite Batman villain, and I liked what Jared Leto had to do in this movie, but it wasn't much. And we didn't really see him all that much in this movie. But I mean, I did like the chemistry that he had with Harley. That really helps, provide some sympathy for Harley a little bit. And I liked that dynamic with Harley, and how the Joker was sort of like someone that Harley cared about, and that was like the sort of human side of her in this movie that I did like. But they didn't use the Joker that much in this movie at all, really, and there wasn't really that much of him, and it's hard to compare him to previous actors that have played the Joker because there's not that much of him in here. Now, I did like the Jared Leto as the Joker. He is very different, and he's sort of like a mix of other Jokers that we've seen before. He kind of reminded me of like a mix of Jack Nicholson and like a mix of Heath Ledger a little bit. You know, he kind of had that Heath Ledger voice a little bit, and he also had like that more darker, well, I guess not darker, but well, just kind of like a mix of many Jokers that we've seen before on film and on TV. In my opinion, I did like him as the Joker, but you know, like I said, he wasn't in the movie that much. He wasn't in the movie effectively enough to really compare him to previous actors that played the character. And another thing that I didn't really like that much about this movie is the villain, and there wasn't really much backstory to the villain. I mean, there was, but it didn't really explain what it was exactly, the villain. Like, okay, well, this may be like a minor spoiler, but I think everyone knows this. Enchantress, she is in the movie, and she is the villain. She is the villain. I don't think that's a spoiler. I mean, it might be, but it's safe to assume that she is a villain, but I don't know. I mean, she was okay, but not much backstory, really. And another thing about this movie is that there's a lot of music in this movie, and I did like that, but sometimes in some scenes, especially in the beginning of the movie, when it's like showing us backstories and stuff, like all these different scenes stitched together for all these characters, there's like music playing on top of that sort of loses that tension that the scenes should have. And that's really one of my major complaints about this movie, is at the beginning a bit of a slow start, and the music in those scenes is really unnecessary. And that's really like my major gripes about this movie. The villain, I'm not really a big fan of, and some of the music that shouldn't really be there near the beginning of this movie, when all these different scenes are all stitched together for all these characters. I mean, and the backstories like, not all of the characters have backstories, really. But I mean, like, most of them do. Like, the main leads, like Will Smith as Deadshot and Harley Quinn, they definitely have their backstories, and I really enjoyed their backstories. It brought that human element to those characters that I did like. And, like, not all the characters had backstories, though. Like, Katana, she did not have a backstory, really. Killer Croc, he did not have a backstory, really. Which is a shame, because I really like Killer Croc. I think he's a really cool villain, and it's a shame that we didn't really get that much of a backstory for him. But yeah, like, I enjoyed his performance, though. The actor's name I cannot pronounce, but I think he did an amazing job as Killer Croc for what he was given. And yeah, that's really everything about this movie. Like I said, it's not like a perfect movie, but because it definitely has its faults. But I think, for the most part, the main cast are really good in their roles. That's what I really like about this movie, the cast, and generally, like, the overall feeling of this movie I have is pretty good. Like, I enjoyed this movie. It was a more lighthearted film in a way, like, but in, like, a more twisted way, because there's a team of villains. Hello. But yeah, like, there's definitely more humor in this movie, and I really liked that they changed that element, and it definitely has that different feeling, because it's not your typical superhero flick, but it does sort of go into that a little bit in, like, the last act of the movie. But still, like, it's a team of villains. It's not like a superhero team, really. But yeah, they do a good thing to beat the main villain, but doesn't mean that they're still, that doesn't mean they change to good guys in the end. They're still bad guys in the end. And yeah, that's really everything I have about this movie for you guys. And one thing to take note about Captain Boomerang's backstory is that, yeah, there is a cameo. Not gonna say who it is, but if you guys have been keeping up with updates of this movie, then I think you know who that cameo is. I'm not gonna say who it is, because there might be those of you who do not keep up with updates, because you guys want to be surprised when when you see the movie for yourself. So I'm not going to spoil that. But for those of you who do know who is in that cameo with Captain Boomerang, and then yeah, it's a really cool scene. I really liked that scene, and overall, I enjoyed this movie. Rating. All right. So, out of 10, I would rate it. I would rate it a 6.5 out of 10. That is my rating for this movie. It's not really a great movie. I do enjoy it more than the first two films, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I have yet to review Man of Steel. I might do that soon, though, so that way I can give you guys reviews of all the movies so far in the DC Extended Universe. The next film to come out is the Wonder Woman solo film that comes out next year in June, I believe. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have about this movie. All my thoughts, my feelings toward the movie. I really enjoyed it. Not a perfect movie, though. It does have its problems. And yeah, that's it. And I'll see you guys this weekend when I do some videos for all the TV shows coming back this fall. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.